Hello, Internet. My name is Andrew,
And I'm Matthew.
and together we are Behind the Curve.
Okay, so today we are doing, for our first segment, it's called Children's Movies That Children Should Never Watch.
This is a topic that we care passionately about. I have
Yeah,
no idea why we care so much about it, but we talk about it all the time.
in the post-Netflix era, this is what most people care about, I think. I mean, like, with binge watching, you just watch, you run out of stuff, and, eventually you're gonna hit, like, some niche 80s thing that Disney was working on that Tim Burton was involved with, like, it's inevitable.
It's scary. The post Netflix, like, do we have postmodernism? Do we have like post Netflix? Or it's like you decide that all DVDs are meaningless, and we try to solve some sort of meaning from the rubble of just a bunch of broken DVDs.
It's got to be that because like where does all this content come from? It's a cloud, It's either in like the computers in like Philadelphia on their skyscraper, or it's nowhere. Maybe it's mid or modernist. It's in your mind and it's in the universe.
There's something real there, but we don't know what it is.
But we have a guess on faith to make practical assumptions.
Metamodernism.
It's a thing.
Something needs to replace postmodernism.
No, you're right.
No, something does need to replace it because we're in postmodernism. And postmodernism has already decided that everything's meaningless. Then does postmodernism decide that postmodernism itself was pointless?
Yeah, thanks, millennials.
Shame. We're not technically millennials, so that's fun.
No, we're Generation Z.
Woo!
Yeah, rub it in.
All right, so
Like DIY, like Generation X, but we don't have rocket ships.
I don't know. I like when I look back at like all like the '60s science fiction stuff. Like I want like a flying car and an indoor jungle.
Yeah. What was the indoor jungle for? I can understand the flying car, but what's the growing your bananas or what?
Okay, look with your mind's eye with me, brother. All right,
Okay.
so we're walking down. No, we don't walk anymore. It's
The conveyor belt.
Yes, conveyor belt sidewalks, but they're also black and they're glass, so they are solar generated. So the city never needs to go back on any kind of like. Okay, it's electrical grid to replace the electrical grid, but all the sidewalks are moving, and they're solar panels. So
So
anyway,
it's like Disney's Epcot of or how it should have been, as Disney imagined before he died.
something like that, and you're going along. You and your shopping are being shuffled on down the side not walk,
Yeah.
and then you look up and there's a bunch of Seattle Space Needles on the
Yeah.
horizon, and you look up and each of the top of them is like this giant greenhouse dome. And then inside you have a jungle, and everybody has their own jungle they can go home to at night, and then just the whole world turns into a Rodney Matthews painting.
Okay.
He did all the Asia album. He didn't. I don't think he did all the Asia album covers, but he did a bunch of the Asia album covers. And this is supposed to be talking about children's movie, and we're just talking about '80s prog rock. This is.
Yeah. Well, we're in the right era because should I start with my
Yeah, go ahead.
movie?
So you
Yeah.
start.
So my movie comes from the Disney Dark era, aptly called because of just nothing happened. It's something only Disney could do. I mean, let's face it. If Hanna-Barbera did what Disney did in the '80s, they wouldn't be around in any form. I mean, because they're a Cartoon Network now. But anyway,
True, but then we also had all the Scooby Doo movies.
that's true. Those freaked me out. I will say that. That was like worse than anime for me.
Anyway, your movie.
Anime still scares me, but yeah, during the '80s, couple things happened. It was kind of the end of just the post-Malaise era. Even like Tim Burton was actually working at Disney at this time, and I'm not going to bring up the Black Cauldron, but the movie I'm talking about was one of the first movies that John Lasseter actually worked on. I forget what he did. He might have just been an animator, but it's called Brave Little Toaster. And I think you said you were familiar with it, right?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's not a movie that I've seen all the way through before, but I'm familiar with it, and I know that a lot of people I know have described it as traumatizing.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Like, how do I explain it? Like, the animation is pretty well good on there. It was actually done in Taiwan, so maybe there's a little bit of manhwa influence in there. I'm not sure.
Was was the Super Mario Brothers cartoon from Taiwan too, or am I getting crossed up here?
Well, maybe because I know it was before like Fox like did all the animation in Korea. I know that.
I don't. Yeah, I
They're
don't know.
coloring. I know, like they started like with Ed, Ed and Eddie, so maybe that was more of a late '90s thing. So that would be a better guess. I mean, remember this is when Taiwan was kind of the China that China wasn't yet, before the Tiananmen Square protests. So
I'll take your word for it.
okay, but gosh, where to start? It's kind of like it's a very atmospheric movie when it's not scary, and it's still kind of disturbing because it's almost like one of those Jungian films, like things represent something but they don't. And I know Freud and Jung are pseudoscience, for a better word, but if you like Earthbound and maybe some elements of, Stranger Things, like that weird Americana, there's some weird thing about behind closed doors thing going on, but it's not very David Lynch. Like it's not like Paranoid. It's hard to explain. Like I would say that the main thing you have to know about the story is it's about four appliances. I think it's four. It's Lampy, Toaster, Kirby, who's the vacuum, and then there's radio. So that's four of them. That's
So we got so we got like a little pink guy. We got there wasn't there a Cuba Gooding Jr. movie called Radio or
no, they were like two SNL guys, but
okay.
Pinky's
Anyway,
played by not Ashley Ball. No, never mind. That's the other show.
okay, so like, are you saying like they represent stuff? Like, are we talking like
No, they're like
never-ending story type
no, they're
stuff?
like not allegorical, but they're all 50s appliances or more or less. They're radios from the 40s, so he like talks about all this stuff from there. Toaster, I know he's from like back then. Kirby's like 60s, and I don't know when Planky's from. He's like supposed to be the youngest one, played by a
Okay.
girl from the set. So they actually get abandoned, okay? And they don't like they're pretending like nothing happened, basically. And then one realize it like they've been abandoned. So, skipping around, basically, they eventually found out they've been replaced, including by like the radio, more or less, being replaced by an Apple II, which is amazing because basically this is supposed to be like 1985 that their master can afford like a
Oh,
computer.
okay, okay. Masters, the Masters got some. Ooh, and do they call the person the Master in the movie?
Yeah, they actually do.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like you're being replaced and getting older, and it's like the consumer of the 80s, but not really like a critique of it. So you got like
That's
this middle.
horrifically depressing.
I know, and like you got sort of this middle American charm that you got sort of in Back to the Future, saying like the 80s is the new 50s in a way, but also in a way that like not becoming so impersonal, but like it wasn't really a meditation on death. It's hard to explain. Like you got all these Americana elements like Earthbound, but then it's like you got these dark things. Like there's this one scene, just to give you an example, like there's these talking cars at the end of the film. All of the appliances are in a junkyard, and there's these talking cars. And they basically sing while they get crushed up, and that actually never disturbed me, actually. But now that I think about it, that's like, because they're machines, but like they die basically.
Hmm.
And it's kind of funny because if you look at the main plot, it's kind of a repeat of Toy Story 3, but I won't ruin it too much. I think I've get enough of a plot.
Wow.
Yeah, I think
that's deep.
yeah, and I think the number one reason why I think of it in my mind as like Earthbound and Stranger Things is because during there's this one dream sequence, and I will ruin this completely, so you can just anyone can fast forward if they don't want to know this. And apparently, appliances can have dreams in this or whatever. So in this,
I've often
Toaster
thought
has
that I often thought our coffee maker had delusions of grandeur.
uh, so there's a scene where the Toaster like has a dream like he's with Master, and you don't get told it's a dream. It's presented like a flashback, and then he's like, Toaster starts smoking, and that gets taken away, and then this out of like, and then the whole room's on fire, and then this clown like pops out, and then he says like run. He's just like this fire, this like fire guy, and then he tries to like kill the Toaster with like a giant hose, and with appliance, that means like that's basically death, which is kind of funny because unlike life, organic life basically needs water no matter what. And then the dream ends with him actually falling in a tub, which basically means he would like die. Which is ironic because that's actually how the children's author of the book died. I'm not making that up. That's how he died. He committed suicide.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's dark.
That I literally could not watch that. That was probably the worst scene I've ever watched, and it's looking back on it, it was actually pretty well put together. I mean, just from like an artistic art design point of view, like you got a lot of like good Terry Gilliam and Tobin Byrne like art design to like how you present it. It's literally less than a minute, but it's very, and the animation, like I'm surprised they got this produced. It's just pretty amazing. They might have produced this. A fun fact though, the clown was actually played by Jim Cummings, and you know who he is, right?
I do. He is Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. So
This movie. So we have death clowns.
yeah.
Evil Winnie
Check.
the Pooh.
Check. Yeah.
Death imagery.
Yeah, and a lot of you being replaced, and middle America, the dark side of middle America. So we got a little
suicide music.
Really
Not
good
suicide music. Death music. Wow.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have a hard time topping that.
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with a movie that for whatever reason, I have no idea what possessed me to do this. But some years ago, for guys' movie night, I thought it would be a wonderful idea to get a movie. This is still in the Netflix era when we believe that DVDs exist. I opted to get a movie called Alpha and Omega. So...
Did you watch that in theaters?
No, I didn't watch it in theaters. I watched it once before, and I thought it was... I don't know what I thought. I was like... I still am wondering what I was thinking, and I'm like, oh, that seems like that could be funny and like super awkward to watch with the guys. So for a guys' movie night, we watched it. It was us and our buddy Rob.
Yeah.
So if we mention Rob, I feel like we'll mention him a lot during this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, he's a nice guy, you guys. I mean, if you want to know.
He is a nice guy. That man loves him some basketball. Anyway. So, we're watching this movie, and by the end of it, everybody's staring at me real funny. So essentially the plot is it's Romeo and Juliet, except if it was not Romeo. Matthew, help me. The movie where the rich girl falls in love with the poor. It's the Lady and the Tramp.
The Pauper?
Yeah, something like that. It's like the Lady and the Tramp plus weird wolf conservation messages and sexual overtones and possibly racism.
So stop the insanity, go organic.
That's neither any of those things.
Okay, well, I'll scratch it off my Prius. Make room for my Bernie Sanders sticker. No, I harbor no evil feelings, but
you would never own a Prius or a Bernie Sanders sticker.
I don't think a Prius is a real car. I think it's just like a 80s Honda moped with like a body built around it, or like two like duct taped together. Toyota wanted to make some money off from Honda.
It's like that bagpipe unicycle guy wearing an Arnold Schwarzenegger like costume
as a car.
Yes. Sorry, Matthew is basically Ron Swanson. So.
I'm going more for Robin Williams, but I don't think I'm there yet.
I have no follow-up to that statement. My eyes are closed. I don't know what to say. Anyway, so...
I did say it wasn't pretentious.
That's fair. So, basically there are these two wolves, and the one's about to wolf marry another wolf, and it's like, and then like they don't fit together because he's an idiot and she's not, and then she falls in love with another idiot who's in love with her, and those two idiots get shipped to is it Idaho? I think it's
I
Idaho.
don't know. I don't remember.
remember it being Idaho where they're supposed to repopulate. And then like her goth sister falls in love with the hunky guy, and
Is any of this even exciting?
they start wolf dating. You watched the movie with me.
Okay, I don't remember. I'm sorry. I really don't.
It was
I have a nagging feeling I fell asleep.
according to Wikipedia, it won an award for casting.
Really? Do you even know who's in it?
I know that Christina Ricci is the voice of the goth sister.
I don't know. Okay, whatever.
Other than that, I don't remember any of the Oh, that's right. Isn't Danny Glover's in it too? I think.
Okay, was he the swan?
No, he was one of the old wolves. Because
Okay.
the old wolves and like then. So then idiot and girl survive the trip back. They get shot at by a Indian convenience store owner.
After the racism.
Yes, after the movie's racist. There's a scene where they're like in a camper, and like, do you remember that? Because like
I know. Born to Me Wild started playing. I mean,
right? Yes.
Even if it didn't, it's pretty much what I expect.
And the idiot had on like one of those German like World War I Prussian helmets.
I think I remember that part.
Yes, and the other one wakes up wearing a bra. And I'm like, so that means that the protagonist of our movie snuck up on his crush and dressed her while she was sleeping. Do you not find that creepy?
Yeah, I mean, really.
Also, he doesn't have thumbs.
Oh yeah, that's always a problem.
What did he use to put on the clothing?
What was she gonna do when she woke up? Have a costume party? I mean, really.
The answer is always have a costume party when you wake up, no matter what. But
of course.
It's so awkward, and they get back, and then everybody gets wolf married to the right person. And it's
so. By the way,
and then they're
singing.
Singing. It's a musical.
Okay.
It's a musical. Yes, wait. What about Nazis?
I said, so were they implying that the Nazi lived in that trailer? Cause like, and his wife, or like, why did they?
Well, first of all, I mean, Prussian helmets aren't really associated with the Nazis.
That's true. Yeah.
They're associated with World War I Germany, which is a problem all to itself. Anyway, so everybody wolf marries everybody else right at the end, and then there's the mom who's like, I don't know, she's like a psychopath with a heart, which is just, I think that's just, I don't even know what to call it. But that's the movie, and it's weird, and it's an intensely uncomfortable movie. It just makes you feel like you're doing like the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like you're like it's almost like there's something going down the middle of your back, and you're trying to like.
So it's like funny games for kids.
Not exactly, but it's like if I'm going to watch a movie about wolves, going on great journeys.
You do it on.
Well, no. If I'm going to watch movies about wolves going on great journeys with strong sexual overtones, I'm going to watch Balto.
Yeah, that's true. Or you go on the internet. I'll just leave it at that. If you want to be honest.
Okay. I mean, yes, you could. You could also watch a Yellowstone documentary.
Yeah.
That's not...
They put the graphic in National Geographic. I'm getting better.
That's not wrong. I remember watching it. I was watching. So there's a really good documentary called Yellowstone. Was it Yellowstone Battle for Life or something? It was a good documentary. They used to play it all the time on. I think it was National Geographic. Or was it Discovery? I remember they used to play it all the time.
It's all owned by Google now. I can't keep track.
Anyway, it was actually a really good documentary, but there was one episode, it was the winter episode. And I'm like, if you actually want to learn about like what the actual mating habits of a wolf pack are in stunning HD with revealing narration, Yellowstone Battle for Life.
So Alpha Omega was a little bit like that, but little turned down, but like a dumb like pre Kung Fu Panda DreamWorks movie.
Yes. Also, just throwing this out, am I the only person who didn't think much of Kung Fu Panda?
It was enjoyable. I think it.
I just
Everyone was joking. Is like, why is everyone like acting like Zootopia is unique? We had Kung Fu Panda. You
see, but
know,
Zootopia was actually a good movie.
that's true.
I don't know. I just never liked Kung Fu Panda, and people think I'm crazy for not liking Kung Fu Panda. But like, I don't know. I just never got into Kung Fu Panda, and I'm just like, oh, it's a fat panda in China
Played by a
fighting.
white guy
Yeah,
who's fatter than his character he plays, which is pretty rare.
that's just mean. Here,
I think there's a special thing, not a rating, but like a feeling. Not a feeling. A type of movie that produces a feeling. It's like PG-12. Does that make sense? Like,
PG-12.
as in like an immature type of comedy that doesn't cross certain lines just because it would wreck the feel of certain things.
So you're looking for like an E10 plus.
Yeah, kind of, but like a movie equivalent. Like I can't really think of a movie off the top of my head that would be a good example of that. Maybe like
Madagascar.
the anime for Dystopia. If that makes sense. If you ever saw that, it's
I
like
haven't seen Disguise. I bought you the game as a birthday present, but I haven't
yeah.
actually watched
If
any of it.
anyone's ever watched it, the English dub of the Disgaea anime, it's like almost like a 4 kids 2000s 4 kids dub gone wrong, but doesn't go into PG-13 territory because it doesn't have to, and it keeps this sort of immature air about. But it's not like Family Guy. It's hard to explain. It's like
Like when I'm thinking of E10 plus, like I'm thinking of
PG-12. That's what
yeah,
I don't
PG-12.
know.
Like I gonna think of Madagascar,
Maybe
which is a movie I also think was fairly overrated during its day, and yet it spawned many sequels. But like it does have some like I have it has like certain jokes and moments that like I'm not sure I would. And like on one end you have like Stuart Little, which has
okay.
very like I think like Stuart Little, or like give me something else PG that's not very objectionable at all.
Monsters Inc. Maybe, or is that G?
I don't know.
Come on.
I think it's
How
G or
about Brave?
PG.
How about Brave?
I haven't seen Brave.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
it's fine.
Anyway, like something you like, one end you have that, and then you have sort of like I feel like Madagascar was I felt like it was overly immature at places. Like I didn't like the movie that much when I
Yeah,
saw
but I
it.
think there's a right way to do PG-12.
Oh,
I
there
can't.
is.
I couldn't tell you what exactly it is, but like there's just certain thing like certain care, and it's not unrealistic. Like there's certain types of media and stories that like demand to be told like that, and it would include characters that like wouldn't cross a certain line because it creates a certain. It's hard. You know what I'm saying? It's like
I know
it's a
exactly what you're
tricky
saying.
balance.
A PG-12 book would be Matilda by Roald Dahl.
I haven't read that in a while, so it would be hard to tell you what. I think you're right, especially like, yeah, I think I would agree with that. I remember enough about it to say, yeah, that's like PG-12, but it
Yeah,
doesn't have to be serious-minded either, and it doesn't have to be immature
right.
necessarily.
Actually, Matilda's a fantastic book. If anybody gets the chance, read Matilda. Good book. Also, really good movie with good music. It's actually a pretty faithful movie too. It does faithful well.
Yeah, Danny DeVito did that. I was had a
Yeah,
very
no,
interesting look. It was like almost like
it was weird. It was like 70s,
realistic,
50s.
yeah, realistic 1970s with like the tackiness remembered to a T.
Yeah, no, it was actually a really good movie, and Danny DeVito was good in it. Like he
He
played.
actually invented this new technology called a carrot cam. It was like you like during this one food fight scene, like they could like follow the food. It was pretty inventive. Like yeah, that is a good movie. That's like
That movie had some really cool special effects.
that was almost Tim Burton in certain places. And
It,
I don't know if that was because DeVito was in Batman Returns or like or what, but it just I liked how it was done.
I think it was probably because that Roald Dahl wrote it, and Roald Dahl was he's equally charming and terrifying.
Like Lewis Carroll.
See, yeah, sure, we'll go to Lewis Carroll for that. I mean,
I mean
like,
I mean his books, not the person. I'm not gonna say anything about him.
yeah, it's like, but Lewis Carroll's writings I'll accept. So, yeah, no, this is how far afield we wander. So what is a movie, just like real quick, a movie that you think that every child should see?
Yeah, you can go first because I need some
I
time.
would say I would say the movie that every child should see is A Boy Named Charlie Brown.
Oh, really?
A boy that is one of my favorite movies. Um, it was like it had a great soundtrack. It had a beautiful, subdued visual palette. Uh, the acting was good. The plot was uh, it was strong. The character. There's a reason that Peanuts hasn't gone out of style.
Yeah.
There's a reason it still survives and is so strong and so famous. And I think we saw because this was I have to say I was so worried when I went to go see the Peanuts movie in theaters.
Yeah, I saw that on vacation. That was not bad. You can only make that so good.
I loved that movie. I thought they did as much justice as they could possibly do.
It felt very serialized, like that Three Stooges movie. But like, what can you do? Like, it's all that thing is serialized somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it did have that feel, but it they got the magic.
Yeah.
They got it. They got what Peanuts was about, and they made it special.
I think they kind of understood that, like, I don't want to say '60s feel, but like kind of more like a Wes Anderson feel, only like not quite.
They got the importance of the familiar. They
I guess
got
so. Yeah.
they got the fact that there is a middle America. There's something wholesome. There's something traditional that people still desire.
And it's not bound by time, and it's probably
Right,
more universal than you would
right,
think.
right. There is a universal need for family and home and
And it has nothing to do
success
with
and
globalism
failure.
either. It has to do with need, I think.
I would think that there is a universal need for that every day. It's every day. It's relatable. Um I think it also teaches a child that failure is okay.
Yeah, actually,
It, it,
that
it is most children's movie have a lot of them, not most, but a lot of them have unrealistically positive endings, and that's one thing about A Boy Named Charlie Brown and the new Peanuts movie. They don't have unrealistically happy endings. They're constructed. They're believable.
yeah,
They're content. They're finding peace with things the way they are.
yeah. I mean, like, I remember reading somewhere that like Charlie Brown, I forget who it was. I think it was a celebrity, was writing one of those nice hardback editions they had in the late 2000s. How
Oh, the Peanuts, the Fantagraph books.
it might have been that he said
I
like
I I
Charlie
own a lot
Brown.
of those.
Charlie Brown was always the cartoon character who wasn't necessarily always smiling, and not in a sarcastic way like Alfred E. Newman, but like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Actually, interestingly enough, this is there was one thing I found interesting on Wikipedia that I wanted to mention to you. So this is Wikipedia, but this person does mention, whoever wrote this mentions an AP article that talks about breaking up the Disney monopoly in the 70s, which is part of that malaise era that you were talking about.
yeah,
So this was, part of that, and it does have it has an amazing score. The just and there's the songs in it are actually entertaining, and I actually found myself humming one of them the other day. Uh,
this is one of those TV specials that came after Charlie Brown Christmas, or what?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe it did. This is 1969. No, 60.
You don't have to know, but
I am getting two different dates. The computer is giving me both 1963 and 1969 as
probably
dates.
'69, maybe '63 was one it was based on because Charlie Brown Christmas '65, so it can't have been before then.
I don't remember I remember it being after that, but yeah. No, now we sound really old. We're not old.
No, but anyway, I was just wondering what the producers would have like being convinced them to do just like instead of like a specific holiday, like doing just like a day in the life, like a slice of life, as I would say. And
it was very much a slice of life, and I think that it also, um, on a personal note, this was also a score that opened up a lot of classical music to me, starting with where Schroeder plays
Beethoven.
Beethoven's.
Yeah.
I think it's not a number 8 in C minor.
Oh, I don't know.
Off the top, it's the Pathétique movement, and just that piece of music. I love that piece of music, and that kind of opened me back up to classical music after years of not listening to it.
Yeah, like Charlie Brown is good with that, like opening up certain
Mm,
things that like
mm.
not I won't say deep, but like significant things without being Calvin and Hobbes, because I've never really liked Calvin Hobbes, honestly.
Really? Oh, I
Yeah.
love I love Calvin and Hobbes, but uh, Charlie Brown. The thing about Charlie Brown is I don't explicitly think of Peanuts as being for children, but it's appropriate for children.
Yeah.
But you can be any age. It really is all ages.
Well, that's really like Alice in Wonderland because like it's deep, but the more knowledgeable that you become, more. I mean, like every parent ultimately fails. If your standard is perfection for educating your child, every parent fails preparing their children for the real world. But and I'm quoting my favorite reviewer here, J.G. Keeley. But one of the reasons he liked Alice in Wonderland, he said, I think, like to paraphrase, like it's some you give children only enough that they can handle, so they can, based on what they know, they can like observe it and sort of flip it around, look at it, and understand it. But when they come back and they're older, having known more things, they can get more, basically.
That's a fair point. When I think of like children, and I was thinking about JRR Tolkien's criticism of the British school system. Um, Tolkien believed that, um, I mean, he viewed school as a prison. He thought school was sort of he thought the schooling systems in general, which is kind of a hopeless mess, because he viewed them as driving away the child's imagination and their ability to chase the fantastical, and the fantastical. This goes into a whole deep and just glorious theological hierarchy that Tolkien put together. Uh, but the fantastical is how we escape the prison of our reality. Because if you follow the thought of Tolkien, we are not creatures intended for the world in which we live, and the fantastical is how we escape from that reality. And yet the school system repeatedly, sort of, in society in general, kind of says, no, we have to keep a tight grasp on reality and keep everything inside the boxes that we want them to keep. And I think that, in a way, a boy named Charlie Brown is able to take us to see. It shows us the realities of having to deal with that state.
Well, you can't really blame, the things being the way they are in the 40s before like social science was even applied, and love it or hate it, public enterprises run by the government like tend to be very slow to accept change. Except that the big thing in the 40s was Freudian pseudoscience, where nothing was your fault except your mother, and all that good old 20th century misogyny.
I wish I could blame my mother for all my problems. I can't. My mother's a fantastic person. Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Yeah.
I sincerely doubt
Happy
you'll ever
happy
listen to this.
well, happy Mother's Day to you too, Mom. Well, you know who you are. That was sweet.
It has been proclaimed sweet. And so Matthew walked up back to his dais and waved his arm and said, pronounced, "And thus it is sweet, and all the people shall feast in honor of the matriarch," and so forth. And yea, verily. Now you've offended British people. You know what? I don't even know. It's so yes. That's my little rant about Tolkien. I did a lot of Tolkien study for my. I do have to do a lot of it for my senior project in college. Uh, you know, and so as I was saying, Boy Named Charlie Brown kind of shows the reality of, but it also gives it escape. Snoopy kind of has that escape into the fantastical.
Okay,
And
you mean with the Red Baron thing?
yeah, and not just that, but like sort of all the Snoopy, and like when he comes, like the colors brighten up, and everything kind of changes around, and reality bends for Snoopy and Woodstock, and they offer a portal out of sort of the everyday life. So there's sort of like the acceptance and contentment of dealing with what Tolkien would have called our prison. And then there's also the ability to go beyond it, which brings the magic to the viewer. So it has both. Like this is a thing that we are going to talk about at some point. But The King of Elfland's Daughter by Lord Dunsany has
a very good book that for some reason nobody knows about.
Probably because it has a plot that I still don't comprehend, but it deals with the push and pull between Elfland, the fantastical, sort of like that realm of the forms, the Platonic realm of the forms, and Tolkien, a Platonist.
It's funny because he drew from that.
Oh, he definitely did. And then you have sort of our world, which has its own beauty. But though there's a tension between the two different beauties, and it was like, because on one side you had the Queen of Elfland and Lorelei, who are trapped on their side, and then you have on our side you have Avric and Orion, who are trapped on our side, and that's a tension that I think is in A Boy Named Charlie Brown, and I think it's fantastic, and you all need to watch it, and you should all watch the Peanuts movie, the new one, because it's actually a really good movie.
Which is funny because I don't mean to rain on your parade, but like the guy, going back to J.J. Keighley, my favorite reviewer,
Mm-hmm.
He's actually very anti-escapism. He basically, I don't really want to. I only read his article once on it, but I suggest reading it. Basically, I think his argument was basically
we'll throw a link in there.
This escapism was basically just immaturity misspelled, and it's like a panic blanket basically. And I don't really quite. I just want you to read it for yourself because I think he actually being the one who suggested Queen of Elfland's Daughter, like I don't know how he took it, but if I remember correctly, he kind of interpreted it as sort of this allegory for like a Nietzschean rejection of logic, that it's an oppressive social construct or whatever, which I don't agree with. I don't think I didn't really interpret it from that, but like
I don't know what I don't know what he intended, because it's not it's definitely not a very clear narrative, but I did not get that.
Yeah, or insanity, I think, was more of his point, which is basically a rejection to conform to logic.
That I think that could be a valid interpretation.
Which I consider insanity selfish then, from a utilitarian ethics point of view, because one cannot help others while insane. So
I mean, we do see some of that from the Parliament of Earl.
I'd say too, and probably maybe more Marxian rejection of religion in the priest character.
See, though, is the priest a rejection of religion, or is a priest the failure to accept the aspects?
Remember, this was written in Irish in 20th century Ireland, in the 20s. So like, it's basically, Ireland is like the South, basically, with religion. Like back then.
I have no statement that could corroborate that.
Okay, to reject, you mean?
I have nothing to go on that would cause me to strongly agree or strongly disagree, and I would like you to elaborate on it.
Well, let me put that different. Like they're very rural, and rural communities. And again, this is 20s Ireland, so I can't speak with. They just became a republic. Think of like the Civil War.
Right.
Strongly nationalistic, but not fascistic. Very economically libertarian, or at least today. And very religious, and their founding myth is basically, as a Christian nation, is that a saint came along one day who was technically not a saint, but that's not important.
That's true.
And he drove away.
He was never canonized because he wasn't because he didn't agree with Rome. He was never a
Yeah, actually,
canonized saint.
Dunsany's. Yeah, funny thing, Dunsany's like ancestor from like the 16th century is like is actually an Irish saint though, which I don't know. Take that as you will.
Columba?
He might have had the name. It was like Sir Plunkett or something.
Wait, his name was like Morton Drax Plunkett. Whatever McCall.
It might have been Saint Plunkett, but that's not
Saint
important.
Plunkett. That's just a terrible name. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is no Saint Plunkett. No, because and also
Look it up, I don't know.
think Saint Columba was Irish. Come to think of it, I think he was Scottish.
I know he was related to an Irish saint. I think from the 17th century. So, which makes sense. Which is like enough time to become a saint.
Which is interesting because like as a church holiday, like I know this. Like as a church holiday, St. Patrick's Day is a much bigger is a bit like at least in the churches I've gone to. I speak as a high church Lutheran. St. Patrick's Day is a pretty like we get excited about St. Patrick versus like he wasn't.
So you have a service for St. Patty's Day.
We do generally celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I mean, like not like we celebrate St. Patrick's Day as a religious holiday, whereas he's not even canonized by the Roman Catholic Church. Whereas we actually have like a feast of St. Patrick because he was very much sort of like he had kind of the Lutheran idea of like breaking down the service and the doctrines of Rome to be comprehensible and sort of more back to a core root versus the
which is very Lutheran.
It is outside of versus like the Aquinas going off into outer space,
meeting and going to co-op.
Yeah, like holding the book of Aristotle with the cathedral on top. Have you seen that painting?
No.
Okay, well, anyway.
Yeah, I never really liked Aquinas all that much, honestly.
This got which is interesting because a lot of Reformed tradition took from Aquinas.
Isn't it sad we're going to cut most of this, by the way?
I have no idea. I'm enjoying myself. Anyways, back to what you're saying. Escapism is immaturity spelled differently.
Yeah.
I disagree heavily because this is where I'm
assuming I got his argument right, because I'd read it it's a short article, it's on his blog, but he had nothing good to say about escapism.
Okay.
I remember that.
Like I said, I'll throw up a link to that if you send me one. I'll throw it up on YouTube once we get this up. Because I mean, I welcome opposing opinions. I tend to be I tend to agree. I tend to be closer to Tolkien, and I know.
Well, you read Keeley before, right?
Yeah, I know, and Mr. Keeley is rather critical of Mr. Tolkien.
Michael Moore and Meeville, China Meeville, which I don't want to say he completely divided his opinions, but he kind of got the germ of the idea and kind of wrote it a different way.
So what I would say about escapism is I'm going to go back to Tolkien's idea of saying is that like this world is a prison.
But not in the Gnostic sense. Like
not
we're
in
not
the Gnostic sense. No.
But the world, as much as it isn't inherently corrupted, and the flesh isn't evil, like it has been tainted.
It has been tainted, and
there never could be basically a utopia on Earth. There will either always be entropy or the laws of thermodynamics. At least in this universe, as far as we know,
there will always be entropy.
Either human or something else.
It's unavoidable. It's as long as we are bound by time and space.
I mean, you need life for that, basically.
Yes. So anyway, Tolkien's religious idea was saying that the way that you could participate as being, Tolkien very much took the idea, the traditional Christian idea that mankind or humankind. I've been yelled at for saying mankind in class too many times.
Hey, we're not in Canada. Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, it's like I.
There goes the Canadians. That's the third British state.
Did you just refer to India as a British state?
Former British state.
Colony?
Yeah. Okay.
Controlled
that means us too.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, but I'm sure we've offended us by talking about by referring to Middle America as some vast entity, which we just spoke for. We're terrible.
And Ireland, too. We said Ireland was like the South.
Oh my word, and
that was British at one point.
So we've talked about the Irish,
Indians,
Canadians, Nazis, Confederates,
Middle America, and that British escapism is regressive and evil.
I think the opposite. I think British escapism is what's coming back in literature because there's a metamodernist movement.
I thought you said German metamodernism.
Yes, but that's where it started. And see, but the Germans kind of end up tumbling through, like, just traditionally. I'm talking like Romanticism really hit its stride in Germany.
Yeah,
Modernism
maybe industrialism
really hit its stride in Germany. Postmodernism really hit its stride in Northern Europe, I'll say.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But actually, not so much in Germany. Actually, really, postmodernism somewhat in Germany, but not.
Communism started in Germany, and
that's true.
Only a whole fourth of Germany actually became communist, though. Technically.
Way to go, guys. That's good. I mean, Anyway. I was saying that escapism is, the way in which Tolkien viewed that humanity could participate inside with the image of God. A very Platonic idea. It was a form of Christian Platonism, saying that there is a greater good from which all goodness comes down, and that you could participate in that goodness to be a part of the greater goodness. You could participate in a derivative goodness, and so Tolkien believed that that it was the most natural thing in the world for people to want to escape from their prison. Use the example, when you are in jail, is it improper to think about anything besides bars and guards and floors?
So did he take this from the allegory of the cave? I mean, I'm not saying he's derivative.
No, he did take it partially from the allegory of the cave that Plato used. For anybody who's unfamiliar, the allegory of the cave is is sort of the idea that in the world as we are, we could only see the shadows of what really was. And that by escaping from that cave, you could come up to the surface and see things as they truly are, the unattainable realm of the forms where everything was in its ideal form. And then once you return down to the cave, you could never fully express to all those who could only see shadows.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that kind of goes back to Book of the Bible is escaping me. Paul's illusion of seeing through a mirror darkly.
I mean, like, you could say that's fair. I mean, like, another thing they might have took from was the from G.K. Chesterton, where he said that physicalism, even whether or not it was true, was not healthy, because it would be like telling a prisoner in the worst part of Soho that now that the universe is all there is and ever will be, to quote Carl Sagan, and that would be like telling that prisoner that the entire world is now that prison in Soho, and all there is dim lights like dim stars and darkness between halls, and then he should be happy because of that.
It brings us down to the most fun. I think it comes down to the most fundamental question: does everything matter or nothing matter? Because one is true. One has to be true. Because either everything matters or nothing matters.
I mean, even if you did say physicalism was true, you could at least you have the imagination, and then you could have, go to that prison and like create a moral of something that can never exist. And then, because I think what makes mankind unique is that we're the only creatures that we know of that who can think of something illogical. We're the only ones who can think of squared circles and rocks that God can't move. No animal in the world, I think, knows how to do that. It makes us unique.
You said mankind again, Chuck. Actually, to be perfectly honest, which is odd because I use it like sometimes I like there was one professor I had who was actually upset that I used Mankind, and there were two that weren't bothered.
Okay.
And oddly enough,
One was the guy who was a woman, right?
no, the one who was bothered was a woman, and the two who were not bothered, one was a woman and one was a man,
Okay.
which I find very interesting.
That's how you had to do it. You had to do it person by person.
I don't mind, because I use it during writing, even though I think Humankind is probably the more accurate.
Yeah.
It's
there's slightly more women in the world than there are men.
Right. It's Humankind is the more accurate term, unless we all suddenly got species fluid.
I thought you were species fluid.
Okay, this is not the time to bring this up.
Okay, we're gonna edit that part out, people.
That's a complicated issue we'll talk about at some point. Anyway.
I love this.
Anyway, so Humankind is probably the more accurate term. I often use it when I'm writing. I use mankind because that's just the syntax I use. Because, well, you know my writing, Matthew. I write. I usually write fantasy, and I tend to write sort of longer, more poetic stanzas, and I just view mankind as just being a more poetic word than humankind. It's a more elegant word, though I do think that humankind is the more accurate word. I think mankind is the more aesthetically pleasing word. So I would use one for creative writing, and I would use the other one for academic writing. I would use humankind.
I understand that much.
Because it just makes more sense. It's more proper. It's more logical.
So you quite, I don't mean to rush you, but are you good? Because like I do think I have a movie.
Oh my gosh, that's right. We're still talking about movies. Yes, Matthew, go right ahead.
Okay. I don't have too much thought behind this because we're doing it on the cuff, but I think it might be Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind. Do you agree?
Oh.
Maybe around 10 or so? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I could go with it. I could go along with it.
Okay, I don't know what to say. It's not all that deep. I mean, like, it's not preachy like his other movies. It's short and succinct. It's a good introduction. It's not really deep like Howl's Moving Castle or Spirited Away.
I like Castle in the Sky.
Yeah. Wait, did I say Nausicaa Valley when I meant Castle in the Sky?
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I thought
I meant Castle in the Sky. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said the other is pretty preachy and not as exciting.
Okay, I was gonna say because I liked Castle in the Sky. I was actually very disappointed by My Neighbor Totoro. I don't know. I had very high expectations. And
that's because we watched it as a group. It's a movie you watch by yourself when like no one's with you.
That's true. We did watch it with people who didn't want to like it.
Yeah, and that no names are going to be named, but you know.
Rob. He's come up in every single thing we've talked about. No, I agree with you. Castle in the Sky is a good movie. We should definitely watch that. And also it has Elton John, Mark Hamill as the villain, and it's
no one gets that.
No, the villain looks like Elton John wearing street clothes.
That is true, though. I know what you mean.
Yes. Anyway. No.
The art design is impeccable, and I love the 20th century look to it all. Like, all his movies, from what I understand, are traditional for the most part. Yeah. But it's got that look to it, which it doesn't look like 80s anime, and it doesn't look like any of other stuff. It stands out among his other work.
I hear that.
Like, it's got a good feel to it. Like, Castle in the Sky is pretty complete, and it's not I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, no, I think it's also a pretty complete movie. I've watched it a couple times, and I really liked it. I would also like to say that we can bring together the beginning and the end. There is a game that just came out on Steam called Forgotten Anne. It has a very beautiful Miyazaki style. It's one of the prettiest games I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's also about rebelling appliances. So
Wow.
it comes together so smoothly in the end. And I think that and that's just a game. I've seen I've seen a few let's plays of it. I've seen some teasers for it, and I'd love to get it, but I'm not sure I'd have time. If I do end up getting it, who knows? Maybe I'll put something up on the YouTube channel. It's one of our midweek segments. So are you good with talking about movies?
I'm done.
All right,
Or are you
cool.
saying for yeah?
Yeah. So I'm Andrew.
And I'm Matt.
We're behind the curve. The title of our movie is the fact that we are not that up to date with a lot of things, and we like talking about old things or things that people think are outdated or boring, and that's what we do. This is what we do when we're in person. We argue about literature. We watch weird art movies. We, if you want,
Not necessarily for Poland with Jack Black in them.
we don't watch Polish art house movies with Jack Black in them traditionally. But we certainly could try and find one.
Who knows?
Who knows? But we try to pick a topic each week, and we're going to talk about it. We're also going to try and do some midweek segments. The midweek segments are going to be smaller, closer, usually more fun. They're probably going to be about video games, usually.
Yeah, hopefully.
We are nerds.
Not my number one thing, but that's fine.
Yeah, no. Also, so these ones with the longer episodes, we will try to have up. We'll try to. I don't know what day we're gonna do them normally, but we are gonna definitely try and have a normal posting schedule. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you all are well. One thing that we'd like to do is we would very much like to try and create a community. We want to have ideas exchanged down in the comments.
That's our mailbag of sorts.
That's our mailbag. We at the moment this is being recorded, we don't have all of our social media up and going, but once we do, there will be links to it in the description. Please follow us. Please keep your ears open for our future upcoming episodes. If you enjoyed this, then you're probably going to like it. We're going to try and go a little bit smoother next time. Maybe try and keep things a little bit tauter. But other than that, hope you are well and have a lovely day. And please put ideas, big ones, scary ones, fascinating ones. This is not the comments below. Say what you like about our college campuses these days, but this is not meant to be a safe space. This is where we are going to bring in big ideas that even you might find scary. Not scary as in like, oh my goodness, these people are insane and I'm scared for my actual health and well-being, but as in like ideas that push the boundaries of what you think, what you believe, what you hold dear, and that is the only way that you are going to make new and fantastic ideas. I am a very firm believer in that. What was that?
You're going to need growth room people.
Yes, you definitely need room to grow. I am very much a classic liberal in that sense. So, hope you all have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, night. All right. From Behind the Curve, I'm Andrew.
This is Matthew, too.
Good night.